Federalist is a conservative online magazine that often generates controversial content in opposition to the news of the more liberal mainstream media. They accuse mainstream media of false news, but at the same time, they publish false news in the opposite direction. They recently published an article entitled "The Funniest and Most Accurate Mainstream Media Joke of All Time." I'll share it with you today because it's very relevant to what I have to talk about. The story goes, a Harley biker is riding past the zoo in Washington, D.C. when he sees a little girl leaning towards the lion's cage. Suddenly the lion reaches out and grabs her by the collar of her jacket and tries to pull her inside the cage to slaughter her, under the eyes of her screaming parents. The biker jumps off his Harley, runs to the cage, and hits the lion square in the nose with a powerful punch. Whimpering from the pain and totally surprised, the lion jumps back, letting go of the girl, and the biker brings the girl to her terrified parents, who thank him deliriously. A reporter has watched the whole event. The reporter approaches the Harley rider and says, "Sir, this is the most gallant and bravest thing I have ever seen in my entire life." The biker replies, "Well, it's nothing really. The lion was behind bars. I just saw the little kid in danger and I acted as I felt right." The reporter says, "Well, I want to make sure that this won't go unnoticed. You know, I'm a journalist and I want to put it in tomorrow's paper on the front page. So what do you do for a living and what political affiliation do you have?" The biker replies, "I'm a U.S. Marine, a Republican, and I'm voting for Trump." The journalist takes note and he leaves. The following morning, the biker buys the paper to see if his story actually does appear in the paper. And there it is. The headline reads, "U.S. Marine assaults African immigrant and steals his lunch." Of course, that's an exaggeration. We all know you can't get that close to a lion cage. But you get the point. You can't really believe everything you read and see in the media. Of course, this is not a new phenomenon. Thomas Jefferson felt the same way 250 years ago. He said, "Nothing can now be believed which is seen in a newspaper. Truth itself becomes suspicious by being put into that polluted vehicle. The real extent of this state of misinformation is known only to those who are in situations to confront facts within their knowledge with the lies of the day." You know, I know what Thomas Jefferson was talking about. I've been in more than one newsworthy event and was always surprised and disappointed to see what was recorded in the media, because it was never what I was a part of. It never was what I witnessed. It always seemed to be something else that they put in the paper about what happened. So, at this time in our history, newspapers have morphed into something much more widespread and insidious. They've now gone digital. They've gotten much more powerful. It's now called the mainstream media. We're living under today what can reasonably be called spells, cast with the power of those who have access to our eyes, our ears, and our minds. I was recently watching a video recording of a talk by Caroline Myss, the author and internationally recognized spiritual teacher. She was on stage in London. She was informing an audience of several hundred people that they were actually living under one or more spells. Then she went on to explain that no other population in the past, in the history of humanity, has been exposed to the kind of hypnotic spells that we are experiencing today. We are the only people in history who have been wrapped in a multitude of hypnotic spells, and we don't even know it. Unless and until we can break ourselves out of these spells, we will lose control of our own lives. Of course, when I tell people that they're under a spell, they usually discount what I have to say, or they deny it, or they just walk away shaking their heads. let's stop and think about it. We are exposed each and every day of our lives to literally tens of thousands of messages. Tens of thousands of messages. Messages that are trying to persuade us to buy something, or to think something, or to behave in some way. Previously, I have announced here that we are in a spiritual war based upon the fact that the most powerful mind programming tools in existence are being used against us. Those tools are the visual media of television, smartphones, computers, the movies. They're being used against us through the kinds of programming designed to disrupt our value systems, to weaken our spiritual connections, to desensitize us to violence and tragedy. Suddenly there's a preponderance of stories and reports about those who flaunt the law, both physical and spiritual, and are being portrayed as winners, while those who seek to maintain our value systems, social as well as spiritual, are being portrayed as stupid or losers or jerks who are out of touch with reality. The news media is constantly trying to frighten us. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and so many others, expose us to behaviors that are not only questionable, but sometimes dangerous. Along with internet trolls who spend their time and energy seeking to demean, insult, and destroy anybody who doesn't agree with their twisted view of the world. You know, there are some very, very smart people in Silicon Valley who are continually creating tricks and devices to hypnotize us into staying on their sites longer so that they can rack up viewing time and advertising dollars, all for the purpose of profit and control. We are being placed under their hypnotic spells and we don't even realize it. I heard an interview with one of the executives of Silicon Valley. He said that sometimes he even gets caught up in the hypnosis when he's online. In spite of the fact that he knows what they're doing, he still gets caught in the trap. You know, spiritual teachers have been telling us for centuries that we're asleep and unaware. Noam Chomsky, the philosopher, cognitive scientist, social critic, and political activist says, the general population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't even know that it doesn't know. Some time ago, I declared that we are in a spiritual war. Now, that's a surprise to a lot of people, this spiritual war that I announced. Because, you know, if we just limit our view and our judgment to the fact that these people and devices are merely trying to get and keep our attention, then all we've got is runaway capitalism and political power seeking. That's all we've got. But let's go deeper. Where is the spiritual uplifting? Where is the spiritual urging to rise above all this pettiness and seek the peace of spiritual oneness? Where is that? It isn't there. It isn't there because those in power don't want it to be there. They don't want us calm and connected. They want us fearful and unhinged. If we're immersed in the constant shrieking of, look at me, don't look at this, look at that, pay attention to my story, it's bigger than yours, or, you know, I will solve all your problems if you just vote for me. A couple of weeks, Darlene Feskin was up here and she was delivering a talk and she told us we need to rise above the chaos and the anger, the fear that permeates our world on these days. She urges us to go higher. Well, I was watching a new series on Amazon Friday night called The Rings of Power. In the opening scenes, a young girl creates a little boat out of paper and puts it onto the water in the stream. And as it's floating along the water, the other kids began throwing rocks at it and they hit it and sink it. When she recovers her waterlogged little boat, her older brother asks us, Ask her. Do you know why rocks don't float and boats do? Of course she said no. Well, he says, the stone sees only downward. The darkness of the waters is vast and irresistible. The ship feels the darkness as well, but the ship has a secret. For unlike the stone, her gaze is not downward, but upward, fixed upon the light that guides her, whispering of grander things than darkness has ever known. Those of us who are without the protection of a spiritual connection and practices are susceptible to the chaos that surrounds us. They're scattered, looking here and there, frantically searching for something because the spells compel them to. They're confused, they're unstable, they're stuck in the quicksand. And they don't know that there's something above all that darkness, greed, anger, and fear. They don't know because they don't have the benefit of knowing something as powerful as our spiritual principles. Number one, we believe in infinite intelligence. Number two, we believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. Number three, we affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith constitute true religion. Infinite intelligence is the light, whispering of grander things than darkness ever knew. Infinite intelligence fills us, each and every one of us, because each and every one of us is an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. Even those who are caught up in the chaos, they too are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. They just don't know that they are. So we can rise above the darkness because we know that we have the power. We have the power to do so because we know that we are filled with infinite intelligence. Number seven, we affirm the moral responsibility of the individual in that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. We also know that those who are lost in the darkness, while they're living under these spells, can come out. They can break free from those spells because there is always a way out. Always. Principle number 8. We affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any soul, here or hereafter. So, not only are we the first generation in the history of humanity to be surrounded by the most powerful mind control devices ever created, but those tools are also in the hands of those who want to control us and separate us from our spiritual power. But at the same time, we are the first population of humans who actually have access to the secrets of power known to mystics for thousands of years. Secrets that were kept from the common people because they would not know how to handle such power. But we do know how to handle such power. We know now. We do know that we are in charge of our souls. Our souls are powerful vehicles. As Caroline Myss reminds us, the underground knowledge of the mystics has always revealed that we are co-creators with infinite intelligence. So whatever we think, whatever we say, is going to start an act of creation. Cause and effect. Action and reaction. We are, each and every one of us, huge units of power. It is incredible how much power each of us has, how much power each of us is. That's what we are. Huge units of power. And since we hold the power of creation within our very souls, we have to pay attention to everything we say, everything we think, everything we feel, every time we react, because everything we do sparks an act of creation that sends a message out into the universe that comes back to us, manifested. Everything. Everything. So we cannot let ourselves be distracted by all these shiny objects that surround us. We cannot allow ourselves to be distracted and fooled into behaving in ways that are based on the erroneous belief that we have no power. It is not true. We have power. But they try to tell us we have no power beyond how white our teeth are, or how new our car is, or what political party we belong to. But if we allow ourselves to be distracted by all that pettiness, we lose access to that which makes us great. Our focus, our attention, our concentration. When we do that, we end up turning our power over to them who have no concern for us. So we must pay attention to ourselves because we are always in motion. Remember, we are vibrational beings living in a vibrational universe. Therefore, we are always creating. So the question becomes, will our creations be for the higher good or for the benefit of those who are pulling the puppet strings? We have to start thinking and asking, is my getting involved in reacting to this shrinking that is going on all around me of value to me and my spirit? Am I caught up in the spell they're trying to weave in my mind? Is this the best use of my power? We have to become very discerning about what it is we believe. We have to be very clear about what is being presented to us through all of these mind control media. Is what they're telling me true, or is it just a construct for their own purposes? We are here on this planet, in this life, to learn, to experience, and to grow, and always to overcome. We're here on this planet to grow into our own truth. These diabolical spells being cast upon us are some of the things we must overcome in order to connect with our true selves. We must become very discerning about what we give our attention to, because remember, whatever you give your attention to also gets your energy. But the truth of the matter is, we are not just human beings. We are spiritual beings functioning in a human body. And we simply have forgotten who we really are. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. So let us take back control of our souls. Let us not become easily manipulated puppets. Let us learn to manage our power and control our power and refuse to let our power be stolen from us by clever people who have no concern for our well-being. Let us be the powerful spiritual beings we came here to become. It's already in us. We just have to learn how to bring it out and apply it to our lives. Remember, the kingdom of God is within. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending some time with me. Please click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. You know, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, your suggestions, your stories. So please use the comment section below the video. And remember, you can help support this ministry by going to my website at bozemandevelopment.com and choosing the Please Donate tab, or you can use the Cash App at $Andre Amron.
I truly appreciate your support. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you again next week. In the meantime, remember, I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind.